Wow, by Zoom. Okay. Sorry about that. You guys should have game sounds. It takes so long. But type it in the chat if you guys are there. Hope you guys are doing good. Nubsock, life is back. The uptime of the session continue. Interesting, okay. I can see and hear you, awesome. Oh! Okay. Just making sure everything's good. Good night, no, I'm good. Oh my god, why is this thing not working now? Wow, by Zoom. Everything should be good. There we go. It should be synced as well, alright? Wow, by Zoom. Alright, so... I heard a purr. Okay. Yeah, that will rarely ever happen, by the way. Where it's like the game sound goes out, but the video somehow stays on. If that happens, then I have to restart the stream, and it's very, very unlikely, so... Wow, by Zoom. Everything should be good, though, right now. What'd you guys talk about? Everything, pretty much. If you want to come on stream, Epic Empire, you're more than welcome to, by the way. Guys, Epic Empire was the one that started the thread about, you know... Gosh, this stream is like making me nervous, like it's gonna blow up everything, basically. You already missed everything? No, it's all on VOD, and, you know, we can have another one as well, probably. But yeah. Gotta go to sleep. It's 2 a.m. Okay, no problem. Nighttime says, I don't know if I should come on stream, that's lewd. Oh my god. Okay, let me... I guess I'll just pull Guilty on here, and whoever wants to come in, but I'll do Guilty first. Guilty, are you ready to talk, basically? I think she probably is. Hello, hello? Doing pretty good, how are you? Okay, is it? Damn, it must be... The living in paradise. I'm glad you and Samusko could come to an agreement. Hold on, I gotta change the volume. I think everything's good. Guilty's not like crazy high, like loud or not, right? Can't hear Guilty? Let me see. Okay. My stream just apparently randomly explodes. Not quite yet, but I'm working towards it.
Gotcha.
Can you guys hear Guilty now? Maybe.
Hello, hello, hello.
Alright, they're saying yes. Alright, awesome. So, I mean, I know that, you know, you were in that chat. There's lots of people that were... There's just like, I don't know, 7 people in there. And, you know, I wanted to get you in an environment where you felt, like, understood. And, you know, so that's why I'm, you know, doing the whole one-on-one.
I appreciate the space.
Yeah, so what's going on?
Well, first off, is there anything you would like me to clarify in particular?
I mean, the last time we were talking is that, you know, you're saying that my Discord is an echo chamber because I am allowing slander, essentially.
Not quite. Yeah, that's a component of it, but that's not really the direction of the thesis that I'm going with. So if you could notice from the exchange that I just had with Samusko, um, I do have a lot of experience whenever it comes to managing maybe like fringe toxic communities, so to speak. And as a result, I'm not approaching you in a way where like I'm upset or I'm judgmental. I'm approaching you from the context of, I've been kind of through the ringer and I have quite a bit of experience with this type of thing, and I'm
Awesome.
just giving you advice.
Yeah.
So, like, if you could see, like, from the previous conversation I had with Samusko, it's like, I do know how to handle these things. I do know how to handle issues, arguments, disputes in a way that is rational, controlled, respectful, empathetic, and where we can wind up with like a reasonable conclusion. And with this too, it's like the whole Arturo saga was I was really the person who convinced him finally to actually pay back his debt to Dominion and other things like that. And it's really just because I'm able to navigate issues within toxic communities with experience.
Awesome.
And I feel like when it comes to like you and I, there is a gap in our experience.
Okay.
And I don't mean that in a judgmental sense.
Sure.
I just mean to say like, hey, I'm observing this. And in my observation, I can say, saying this isn't an echo chamber isn't necessarily the same as people not coming up with creative and clever ways to still create an echo chamber regardless. So I'm just talking to you specifically and saying if you actually look at it, like as it is right now, it does create an echo chamber, whether
Why?
you want it to or not. But it's not just because it's the effective truth of it. Like you have to separate the effective truth, like how things actually are, from labels. And like even though people may have the opportunity to sit there and have these conversations, Dilly still reserves the right to not engage and then still sit there and say I'm a rapist over and over and over and over, correct?
Can you tell me what the effective truth and labels are?
Okay, so you don't want to look at what people say as a judge of their character. You want to look at how they act.
Yeah.
And if you look at how things actually are, you can look at the system you provided and you can be like, okay, well, you can come and challenge these ideas, but then what if other people just don't accept that challenge and just continue doing what they want to do anyway? But then they invite people in kind of like a group, and then they organize people to have this common opinion on their own.
Okay. I mean, but
Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah, so I mean, you're saying that like it could be an echo chamber because there could be a bunch of people that agree. Like I'm of the belief that like the wisdom of crowds and stuff like that. Like, are you familiar with that sort of terminology?
Yes, and I also would say that I can discuss it in a way that I don't come away with the same conclusion. I
Yeah.
feel like if you look at
Okay, so
if everybody's on a ship, for example.
So do you understand, like I believe the wisdom of crowds in this situation, like that would lead us to truth, And yes, there might be a small group of people that might say, I mean, am I allowed to say like all this guilty or rapist stuff? Or I'm pretty sure you're comfortable with it, but what's it called? Like
We're discussing it, so.
Like on average, like if you have the weight of a cow at a state fair or whatever, like the average of the crowd is going to, be a lot better than one person's guess. And that's the whole thing with wisdom of crowds combined with free speech. Whatever the truth actually is, if there's enough evidence that should, be at least what I'm aiming for. You know what I'm saying?
Evidence?
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there's a disconnect between what you're aiming for and the way it actually is in the process of creating that aim.
Yeah, I mean, but isn't what just happened
So
with
what I'm
Samushko, like, isn't that, like, the process? Like, you were able to talk with him, he agreed, and you guys moved forward, right? Like, couldn't that happen for any topic?
That was me doing it. That was me taking the initiative. That was me
And it is up
like
to you though, right?
walking him through it. I wasn't implying otherwise, correct. I agree with you.
Yeah.
This seems a bit separate, so I'll just say, like, I don't feel like this detracts from what I have to say, so sure, I agree with you. But again, I still strongly disagree, because it's like, and I don't think it's necessarily even like a matter of like disagreement. I think it's a matter of just where we're at in the process. Because I think you need to look at it as a continual process. And if you look at it as a continual process, it's okay for you to look at it and say like, hey, you know what? We are kind of like starting to create an echo chamber in some capacity. And I don't want that because it is an iterative process, right? But whenever we talk about the wisdom of crowds is that you're talking to someone who got canceled for
Yeah.
false allegations.
I mean, you are too,
So
yeah. Maybe
how
not as
is-
bad, but
Wisdom of crowds? I mean, what exactly do you mean by that? Because if we look at what happened to me,
yeah, I mean, alright,
you know,
I
I didn't
kind of
drug
explained
anybody,
it,
but
right?
it didn't stop people from
Like,
accusing
the
me.
truth, it's the whole thing about the truth will defend itself in the end of things. So if you're right, you're right. You know, there's gonna be some
No, because
slander,
that-
there's gonna be...
No,
Yeah, go ahead.
that doesn't actually account for systems. It doesn't account for organization or like collusion between different people. Because what you actually have in your group right now is you have a like collusion of like 4 or 5 people, and they pretty much dominate this space.
Okay, but there's,
And they dominate
you know,
the
near
narrative.
2,000 people in the Discord. Or 1.6, I should say.
And yet they still dominate the narrative.
Oh, okay, but like literally, like people like you or people in the chat are welcome to come in and prove those small minority wrong, right?
Yes,
So is that that's a
absolutely
decent
agree that that
system.
possibility exists, and yes. No, it's not, because it still effectively means that those 4 people still get to dominate the narrative.
Okay,
So I agree
doesn't
with everything
the
you're saying,
majority
and I stand by what I'm saying. They
Okay.
get to dominate the narrative.
the majority can also dominate the narrative, like sure the minority, like it should
They
be
could or they could not, correct.
yeah, but people should basically speak up on what the truth is. It's not having to do like you should.
They could or could not, correct.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to do with the platform. Like if you were to say keep all misinforming people off the internet, like it's up to the person using the internet to
Certainly.
actually, you know, determine whether something is true or false.
Absolutely,
or
I agree.
On Twitter or whatever. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. I'll let you finish, but I agree with you so far.
That's my point. That I mean, it's basically that.
Okay, well then,
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm done.
okay, so all that aside, 4 people still dominate the narrative.
Okay, so 4 people dominate the narrative, but there is the platform is still allowing of people to fight against the narrative. So it's not an echo chamber. You know? Like as long as the platform allows it, as long as it's like as long as I'm not actively
You seem
denying
uncomfortable
people.
with the label.
Go ahead.
You seem uncomfortable with the label.
What do you mean? The label of echo chamber? Yeah, because I really don't
So-
think that I'm creating an echo chamber. I might be unintentionally though, maybe.
So then, if you, which is what I'm saying, I'm giving you advice. I'm not alleging something. I'm giving you advice that you are unintentionally creating an echo chamber because this group of people is organized in a way where they dominate the narrative when everybody else in your group does not have that level of organization.
Okay. And so, like, if I were to, because I don't know myself, right? If I were to dominate the narrative by, you know, taking action against these 4 people, like for example, I do literally these 4 people.
Which is not what I suggest.
Sure, but you know, and you can give me suggestions, but you know, I'm making a guess on what kind of consequences I could do. Or okay, well, you know, go ahead and tell me what I should do then, if that's what you want to do. Do you want me to go first or you?
I have no intention. No, you can go, because so first I do want to say I have no real intention of, this is not where, like, not even remotely related to where my mind is at. But I will you know, this is where your mind is at, so I will meet you where you're at, and hopefully afterwards we can address what's on my mind.
I mean, you can go ahead. You're saying 4 people dominate the narrative, and it's creating an echo chamber because the minority is basically ruling the majority.
I wouldn't say ruling,
Ruling
but
the
I would
narrative.
say that you have a certain cohesion with your most active users, and they are putting forth a narrative that I think not only is against our collective best interest, but also your personal best interest. I think that you're creating a precedent that down the line will create unforeseen complications. And I think if you're able to recognize it early, you will reduce the complications and headaches that you will experience down the line. But I also don't believe that punitive answers are going to solve anything. Because banning Dilly is going to do nothing other than make Dilly upset, make Dilly vengeful, make Dilly make rumors up
Exactly.
about you, yada yada yada, so forth. And I don't necessarily think that is where you want things to go. But at the same time, I think you need to recognize the conditions for the possibility for there to be a foundation for an organically occurring echo chamber are currently in place.
Okay, it is possible for
Whether
things
you
to
intend that to
go
happen,
bad, but you're not telling me the ways in which you think it should go good. Like, what do you think that I should do? What do you think
because I'm not trying to
I'm
prescribe
doing
something.
wrong, basically?
I think us having this conversation is actually the exact thing that is correct. So I'm not actually looking at it from a position of judging you of what you're doing wrong. I'm actually just discussing how other people are behaving in the greater scheme of things and how it can negatively impact you down the line. So I'm not trying to give you like a bad report card, and if you feel like I'm trying to put you on blast, that is not my intention. I'm trying more or less to obviously
I'm
find an
trying
amicable
to be
solution
on
for
a team with
everybody.
you and find out a good way to not have an echo chamber. So my question is, like, what are your suggestions?
My suggestion is to start with accepting that there is a bit of an echo chamber issue to begin with. So I think you need to start with a premise, not what to do after we have established the premise. Like, we're still on kind of like ground zero, I feel, where we need to like recognize the same thing. So in my opinion, that's kind of jumping the gun. That's getting way too ahead of ourselves. We need to take
Okay.
things more
Sure.
step by step.
Yeah, so I need to agree that it's an echo chamber, like, as the premise. So is it an echo chamber, in your opinion?
I think the conditions for the possibility of an echo chamber are currently in
Yeah,
place.
but that is not what I asked, right? Like, I'm saying, not if...
Correct.
Is it an echo chamber currently?
Okay, so yes and no.
Okay, go ahead.
It is an echo chamber. It is not an echo chamber. It is both an echo chamber and not an echo chamber. It is neither an echo chamber nor an echo chamber. All 4 things are concurrently true.
Okay, so explain, you know... Explain a little more. I'm a little confused with that answer.
It is an echo chamber in the fact that there are 4 people who are your most active users in the community, putting forth a narrative that other people uncritically accept without
What's the narrative?
any curiosity or any scrutiny. That I'm a rapist.
Okay, so we're talking specifically about you're a rapist, not that there's an echo chamber for other things. Just particularly with that subject.
I am starting with one particular instance that demonstrates a larger pattern, correct?
Okay.
But again, it's not that simple. I'm not trying to present a simplified, reductive perspective because I don't think that's helpful.
Okay.
So it is an echo chamber in the way that I just described. It is not an echo chamber for the reasons you've described.
Yeah.
So if my thesis here is it is an echo chamber in the way that I described on this specific instance, your antithesis would be it is not an echo chamber in the macro sense because this sort of debate or engagement is possible. So that's the point and that's the counterpoint. But then the point and the counterpoint, it doesn't just stop there. There is a connection between the point and the counterpoint. There's space in between those two ideas where, like, between two poles, there's the middle. And we need to get to the middle. And we're not at the middle. We're currently, like, I have the thing that I say, you have the thing that you say, but the truth, the effective truth, lies in between those two labels.
Okay, so help me get there to the
Is that fair
effective
to say?
truth.
Okay. So it is both of those things at the same time, and since it is both of those things at the same time, it's neither one nor the other, which means it is not completely an echo chamber nor completely not an echo chamber. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So you're saying it's like a gradient, and if it's a gradient, then it's like how percentage, okay, so could we represent it from 0 to 100% of an echo chamber, I guess? Would that be a good way to represent it? Probably not, right?
Probably.
Okay, so what percentage is an
If
echo
we,
chamber?
I couldn't tell you that.
No, like your guess, basically.
Like, I couldn't quantify it.
To kind of get us on the same page.
On the macro sense or the micro sense?
I guess both of them.
On the macro sense, it's not an echo chamber. On the micro sense, it is an echo chamber.
Okay.
So I would say whenever it comes to maybe like guilty rapist narrative, it's 90% echo chamber. Whenever it comes to the ability to have a dialectic where, like, ideas are challenged in the way that we're discussing it right now, it is 100% not a echo chamber. But
Okay.
those, like, not
So yeah, I mean, I can agree with you.
neither single point encompasses the whole.
Yeah. Well, you're saying that particularly for your what's it called, like cancellation stuff, for your controversy, there's quite a bit of misinformation, and it's all on one side. It's like uneven, right?
I would actually not even say that what Dilly is saying is related to my allegations. Like, I don't think that's what it is.
It's
So
calling you a
I
rapist,
think
right?
he is doing something else. Yeah, but even whenever I was canceled, there was nobody accusing me of raping them.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know that. I thought people may have thought
Correct.
that you drugged people and stuff like
No.
that or whatever.
That was never. So there was a bunch of guys that got together and they're like drinking and whatever, and I guess they made up the rumor that I drugged girls for years and I got away with it because I was transgender, so I had special rights. But there was never a girl saying I was drugged by Guilty.
Okay.
It was like a bunch of people like Dilly just sitting around saying, oh, Guilty is definitely a rapist. That's what it was.
Okay. So, I mean, whenever... So,
If you
those aren't part of your
You have not
official...
looked into my situation, I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since you've never looked into my situation, I'm just going to tell you. If you actually look into it, and you can go on Twitter and look it up, August 13th, 12th or 13th, I think is when it started. I think you just look at that week, and you go through everything everybody says. Everybody's allegations, quote unquote, are like, yeah, I was at like an after party, and like Guilty like hit on me, and asked if like this is gonna like lead to anything, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really feeling it right now. And then, maybe later, and then Guilty asked me later, how you feel about it now, and that's my story about the time I had like I was sexually harassed or whatever. The fuck, like it's all weird.
Okay. So, I mean...
And like it's on Twitter, so you can
Yeah.
look it up.
Sure. And I have looked some of it up, I mean, I have like kind of just from the things that, you've told me and stuff like that. But, okay, if you're saying that my place, at least for your example, your controversy, in specific, my place is an echo chamber, then, I mean, I would say that your
Correct.
place is a non-echo chamber. Would you agree with that? Like your
No,
Discord...
I don't think that necessarily entails, because my place could certainly be an echo chamber, but I also have the similar
Do
intentions
you
that
think
you
it
do.
is?
So
Okay.
I want
mean,
people
for-
to dissent with me.
Yeah, for your controversy, is your Discord an echo chamber?
No, because there's still people there that'll say wild shit about me, and I will challenge them about it. But like that administrative challenge, I feel like needs to, on some level, come from you, but it doesn't need to be like punitive per se. You know, to me, I think it's just pressing Dilly to present his case, present his evidence. If he's going to make these claims, then he needs to, you know, I'm innocent until he's able to prove it. And since there's not even a single accusation of somebody saying I raped them, he's not going to be able to provide that. I want to demonstrate to everybody else that he does not have that standing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find places that wouldn't
So-
be, you know, I'm trying to steelman, you know, Guilty's argument. Because if my place is the echo chamber, like, if there's a place that is the non-echo chamber, probably her Discord, right? And all of, so, you
I
know.
wouldn't say that, no. I think
Okay, so, alright, so where is the non-echo chamber for your controversy?
I don't think it's possible to have a place that is completely devoid of like any conditions for the possibility of there to be an echo chamber. I think that exists in all areas, in all spaces. I
Okay.
think that's a constant thing to be vigilant against.
Exactly.
I don't think you ever arrive at a point where it's like, we've defeated echo chambers and
Exactly.
we're done and we need to.
And so what you're
you know,
trying
pat
to
ourselves on
do
the back.
is reduce the echo chamber stuff, right? Which is why things are in place for the way
Correct.
that I set things up. And my way to combat that is not to moderate it, but allow the wisdom of crowds, allow people to, you know, have disagreeing opinions and stuff like that. Yeah, all of Guilty's server is welcome in my server. You know, it's not like I'm trying to moderate, like, the people that can come over from Guilty's, I
I
Go
don't
ahead.
attribute Billy's group's actions to you.
That's good.
Like, I don't
We'll have
think
Paizo.
that they're acting with your intentions.
Yeah.
So I would divorce their actions and their intentions from your actions and your intentions.
Yeah. And
And
so,
I'm just saying, like, you know, think about it like,
yeah.
I'm trying to talk to you like as if we were on like a balanced team for a game.
Yeah,
And
sure.
it's like, okay, this is a little overtuned. Since this is a little overtuned, these characters are gonna like dominate the meta a little bit too much.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm pretty much talking to you in that capacity and saying that your current balance patch, whether it intended it or not, is creating a certain imbalance.
Yeah, sure. But, you know,
Now,
what I'm saying is like,
I'm not trying to provide solutions at this point.
yeah, you're just saying your patch is bad. That's all that you're saying, right? Okay, great, it's bad. Like,
I'm saying your patch could be better.
yeah. And
I'm
so
saying
when I
we
ask
can
for solutions
talk,
from you,
discuss, and improve it.
yeah, like give me
This is too
advice,
final.
right? Give me something defined, specific.
I think. Let me ask you a question. If somebody does make false allegations that are of a serious nature, not like, you know, oh, this person is a scrub or whatever, but like somebody's making like criminal accusations in your server that are unfounded,
Yeah.
how does that make you feel?
I mean, it sucks. I don't want people being wrongly, you know, condemned for no reason. But I mean, I can't. It all boils down to what people can prove, basically.
No, in this case, I'm asking how you feel. I'm not asking like
Yeah,
what
I
needs
just
to be
answered
done.
you. I
or
said it
that. I'm
sucks,
just asking.
didn't I? Like it makes me
I know.
feel sad. Like it makes
And
me.
yeah, you did. But I didn't. I wanted to stop at that point where I asked how you feel, because I want to like build on, iterate on that, not the rest.
Okay, go
Because to
ahead.
me, the rest is
I
just
would
kind of
feel
like, you're
sad.
like, well, it's out of my hands. What can I do? So then, like, to a degree, you would be happier with Dilly if Dilly were to discontinue that behavior.
Yes, with that in particular, if what, assuming what he's saying is untrue, because I don't know if it's untrue or not necessarily.
Okay, so then let's say like if we were to examine it and Dilly was found lacking in his ability to prosecute his claims, you would be, I don't know what word you would want to pick, like
I'd be
sad,
convinced.
dissatisfied, disappointed. Well, I'm talking about like how you would feel. So I think whenever we're talking about convincing, that's more of a thought thing than like a feeling thing. So I'm talking about like feelings. I'm
Okay.
saying that the propagation of misinformation in your channel, if it was found lacking, you would be a little saddened by it. You would be a little disappointed in Dilly. You would be a little, whatever you want to call it. There would be like a negative, sad emotion where this is unfortunate, right?
Yeah. Like, it would suck that you were wrongly accused, basically.
What's the part of it that would suck? Would it suck because the people in your community are using your platform to spread false allegations, or would it suck because I am specifically targeted?
I mean, I don't like people, you know, facing consequences basically on just slander alone, you know? So, and I have empathy for you because if you're going through all this bullshit and it's not true, then I know firsthand that that sucks. You know, I've experienced sadness, like I've cried over, you know, things that happen in my cancellation. And so, yeah, I would
Thank
be
you for
sad.
sharing.
And yeah, and so there's that, and I would also
So
like I don't want, you know, people like, as far as like being a vessel for people to spread misinformation. I don't know if I can like hop on board with you on that one. Cause like I just see as like my community as a place on the internet, like a web page that's bad or something, or not. Like it's just open, and I personally like that, and I don't see it as a problem as of yet. You know.
So that's the neat thing about feelings, is feelings don't necessarily have to follow like that rationality. And whenever I'm asking you like your feelings, I'm trying to separate thoughts from feelings. So whenever I like kind of like before, I was like, okay, well, I'm concentrating on how you feel. He's like, well, I did say that. And what I would say to that is that you started with your feelings and then you started going to your thoughts to kind of like rationalize and justify your feelings. Whenever I'm trying to isolate and separate feelings from thoughts.
Okay.
Because I feel like honestly, the thing that will make Dilly stop is if he gets the idea that you are disappointed or displeased with the fact that he is spreading false information, and he's able to connect to the fact that that reminds you of people who likewise, who, you know, similarly have accused you, condemned you, rallied people against you, and created that negative association.
Yeah.
So I don't think the correct answer is to ban people. I think the correct answer is to kind of articulate on some level the way that it feels, so he's able to make that connection on his own and decide to do the right thing without being forced or coerced.
Yeah, so I'll say that right now, you know, which is basically like if he is like slandering, if he is saying this stuff just to, you know, make you feel bad and
Make you
stuff like
sad.
that. Yeah, that would make me sad. I don't see Dilly as that sort of person, you know? And so it would disappoint me. And it would, so yeah.
So then if we explored Dilly's argument and we found that Dilly's argument was baseless, it would shift your opinion of Dilly in a negative direction.
Yes. Yeah.
That's pretty much all we need. Is now that we've established that, Dilly should be made to make his case about how I am a rapist. Demonstrating me being a rapist cannot include me saying I apologize for flirting with girls and making them uncomfortable. That is not me admitting to rape. Do we agree?
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not. Now,
And then likewise me saying, oh, well,
yeah.
go on.
I just want to say with Dilly, like, yeah, I don't know if he's watching and stuff like that, like, well, okay, I want to ask, like, I don't know, I guess that'd be getting into the weeds, but it's like, why is he so why is he so out to get you, you know?
So I guess I posted in the channel. It was a while ago. Well, so the first issue was, Arturo is very anti-Semitic. So, I basically had said in my channel, hey, I've kind of worked on deprogramming Arturo. I kind of want to discuss like what I did, how it worked, and like where I'm going with this. And he just disagreed with me. He said, no, you can't, deprogram him. You can't this or that. And I just was like, all right, sure, whatever. But he was very defensive about it. He's very adamant. If you're once anti-Semitic, you're always anti-Semitic. You're this and that, and blah blah blah. And he had very strong opinions about it, but it just kind of contrasted with reality. And despite that, I was still able to talk with Arturo. I was able to empathize with Arturo, and through that, I was able to convince Arturo to repay his debt to Dominion, which kind of upset Dilly in a way because he was very adamant that I could not do that. And later on, I didn't just get Arturo to like repay Dominion, but I also got him to donate to some Jewish causes. And
Interesting.
Dilly started saying, "Oh, that's repugnant that you wouldn't like you wouldn't broadcast it." And my opinion is that broadcasting goodwill and broadcasting like
Yeah.
encouraging
Kind of
somebody to,
diminishes it.
and Arturo donated like $2,000. Yeah, he donated $2,000
Oh, wow.
total. Yeah, like there's a rabbi friend of mine who lost his son, who's related. He's a Tekken player actually, in the Tekken community, and he lost his son. And he's a local Jewish man, and I had Arturo donate $1,000 to his GoFundMe after his son passed away. And my intention with that was, I felt like Arturo really needed guidance. He needed, and I empathize with Arturo, and I was like, he obviously wants to do this conservative kind of thing. So my friend's kind of a conservative rabbi, and if he's able to demonstrate this compassion to this Jewish person with no expectation of reward, and he doesn't just broadcast it like, hey, yeah, look at me, ha ha ha, guys. Like
Yeah,
he's not using
look
that
me, good
for
person.
publicity. Yeah, basically, that's how I felt, and Dilly felt that was repugnant and disgusting, and I can show you the logs of it, but he very strongly disagreed with the fact that I wasn't broadcasting it publicly. And to me, I felt like, he's 28 years old, he is unmarried, he doesn't have a child, he doesn't know what it's like to lose a child, he doesn't empathize with that at all. He's only thinking about like, publicity and views and superficial things. And to me, I felt like that was kind of disgusting. And that progressed to where, I pretty much just said, you don't know what it's like to be a parent. It's like, you don't either. And I was like, that's actually not true. You don't know me. You don't know me or my life or
Yeah.
anything like that. And he just was so insistent that he did know my life. But I have a son. Not only do I have a son, but I have a son who has something called X-linked Alport syndrome, which means that he has like a degenerative kidney issue. And last year he had a kidney transplant. So for me, my motivation for all of this is never to be divisive with other people. It is, Arturo has a son, and I want Arturo's son to have the best chance to have, a father that's functional as possible, because I empathize with that. And with that, with my son's like health issue with my Jewish friend, I empathized with him greatly after he lost his son, and I felt like it was kind of on a humanitarian level, just something where I don't know what'll happen with my son's health in the future. It's scary. It's very scary because, like I said, he's at stage 3 renal failure, and I can just empathize with the fear of losing your son. And I tried to explain to Dilly, no, this is not the way to do it. This is not the way to go about it. But he started getting really defensive. He started getting really disrespectful, I would say. And, I pretty much just said, man, listen, like, I bet you $10,000, like, you're wrong. That I do have a child and this and that. And he's like, oh, and he accepted the bet. But then afterwards, it's like, this kid's 28. I feel bad for him. He's just young and stupid. He doesn't really, like, he doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't understand what he's talking about. He's just a child. So I decided to relent and just not go through with draining him of $10,000. But, you know, he couldn't really admit that he was wrong, and ever since, you know, I guess he's really approached me with a sort of hostility, and at the same time, he's got a degree of entitlement where he feels like, you know, I should be giving him more attention, or I should be giving him this or that. And like whenever you see the way that he talks to Video Maker in your channel, he accuses Video Maker of being me variously, or he, you know, berates him and badgers him. But at the same time, Dilly's not doing the clip work that Video Maker was making.
Yeah.
So I think you need to look at it from how it's actually affecting your community, and like what's happening with me is what's happening with me, but the fact that it's bleeding out into affecting like your video clipper and stuff like that, you know, I said before, like if you discuss things with Dilly in a way to where we're able to actually come to some sort of a mutual agreement, I have no issue reaching out to Video Maker specifically and be like, hey, you know, we don't have an issue, but like you gotta at the same time do something for me to do something for you, where we're on the same page, where it's a win-win, not like a, you know, I'll do this for you.
Wait, what? So you're saying...
And that's the end of it.
Okay.
I said that to you in text, but we've already had this discussion. But
No,
I'm also
but-
saying like Dilly is
Okay.
being aggressive and abrasive towards your clip maker.
Go ahead.
Sorry, am I cutting you off?
No, you're good.
Okay, I apologize if I am cutting you off. But yeah, it's yeah, I think Dilly could be a good community member, but I don't think that Dilly is like, I don't think he's willing to be like reflect on the way he's acting and the way he's behaving. And I think it's entirely possible for him to reflect and recognize the patterns of his behavior and the precedents that he's setting without having to go to like the extreme length of like banning him or something like that. And I don't want to mess up the fact that he is supporting you and your server. And to me, it's better for him to not view people like Video Maker with envy, because that is what it is. He's envious of Video Maker for doing things that get your approval, and he's acting out towards Video Maker, try to push him out so then he gets that attention because he feels more entitled to it. And I can demonstrate that through quite a few exchanges I've had with him in text, and I've sent some of those to you. But there are innumerable, many more, where he basically just does the exact same thing in terms of acting out for the approval of kind of the main creator.
Okay.
And I know how that worked in my community, and I just don't want to see that happen repeated in yours. And I feel like we do have an opportunity to kind of address things, and I think it does start with false allegations, and you know, hopefully it ends in a way to where he is able to look at people like Video Maker and he's able to understand you guys are on the same ship together, you're casting the same lot, so your survival is shared. Like if you have Video Maker helping you, you shouldn't berate or badger him to, you know, either comply to what Dilly thinks, or he needs to get the fuck out. And then you also need to think about the fact that you need somebody to be your clip person. And if Dilly wants to be that clip person, that's one thing, but he's not. He's just pointing fingers and accusations, and it's ultimately hurting you, which is counterintuitive to presumably what he wants, which is to have a community.
Yeah. Okay. So he's doing this for approval or attention or whatever. Okay.
Right.
Let me think about this, because it's like...
So the person who has...
Yeah, I'm just thinking it's like... So why not just like stand up for Video Maker, which I already have. You know, I've already said that I appreciate, but you want me to... I guess what I should do is say like, hey, Dilly, if you're gonna keep on doing this shit, then XYZ consequence.
When have I ever mentioned consequences?
I mean, well, what would you want me to do with Dilly then, you know? Like, if there's no consequences, like, I mean, I think that you're inferring a consequences. I mean, like, you're inferring some sort of, like, action to be taken. Or no?
Sure, articulate that it makes you sad and that it lowers your opinion of him. That's all it needs. He's a narcissist. It doesn't matter. You don't have to punish him. You just have to make him aware of the fact that he's not actually getting brownie points with you and that he's actually disappointing you by making false allegations and running people out of.
Okay, so that's the
district. Like,
consequence.
if you, pretty much.
Okay, so that's what I mean by consequence, not necessarily, you know, like Discord consequences. I mean, you're saying that I should basically say that he's not getting my approval.
Give him an ultimatum to either prove his case or back off. And then create an incentive structure where if he makes his case and proves that he's correct, then you will not be disappointed with him. You will, you know, think higher of him. But then at the same time, if he has been fucking up and he has been contributing to making your space an echo chamber, and he stops that behavior because making an echo chamber out of your space makes you sad, then you should also reward his compliance.
Okay.
If he agrees to stop creating an echo chamber in your space because that makes you sad, then that makes you happy. He's a narcissist. That's all he wants. He just wants approval. He just wants head pat. That's it. It's like right now, Dilly's upset with me because I'm not giving him sexual ASMR. If I humiliated him in ASMR, that's what he wants. He has a humiliation fetish. So like, he just sits there and argues and just gets humiliated in public, and that's what he gets off on. And that's his fetish, but at the same time, you know, you gotta understand what actually matters to him is approval, it's validation. So you need to be more judicious with what you validate and what you don't validate.
Okay.
And approach it, like giving in
I mean,
to
I
other
can
people
definitely
who want to ban him,
yeah.
that's the wrong way to do it.
I can push back on him when I think he's bullshitting, basically. And if that's what you want me to do, I'm
Just
in total
challenge him to produce
agreement
evidence.
with that. So what's it called? Like, and that would reduce the echo
Okay,
chamber
so I'm gonna say what I want.
stuff, right? Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna say what I want, and I want you to repeat it back to me, so we understand.
If it's correct,
I want
yeah.
you to
Well, how about
challenge
so?
him to produce evidence.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Say that back.
Papa, is it why you turn like clip me or something?
What?
I mean, I agree with it.
What do
yeah.
I want? What do I want?
Okay, this is.
Yeah,
this
but
is,
you've asked me multiple times what I want. Have you not?
I don't know.
You've asked
actually.
me multiple times what do I want, and I want us to be clear.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. This is what I want. This is what I want. I want you to understand what I want, which is I want you to get him to produce evidence that I'm a rapist.
Okay,
That's
all
the
right.
first thing that I want you to do.
Did I not do that today?
Has he produced evidence?
Yeah, but you just, you know, I'm not saying, I'm saying I did exactly what you did. I pushed back against Dilly. I said, do you have evidence that Guilty's a rapist? You were right there with me, you know? And so I'm already doing that.
I didn't ask you to ask him. I asked you to pressure him. Like, he needs to produce evidence. He has already created the situation where he needs to produce evidence.
Okay, so you want me to pressure him? You
He's
want me to
already
actually, like,
overstepped.
yeah. Okay. So, I mean, what I can do is what I offered, which is we can have a stream, you know, where I'm asking him to produce evidence, your side, his side, stuff like that. Like,
I don't have a side.
you definitely have a side. It's that you're not a rapist. What do you mean you don't have a side?
That's not a side. It's because he's the one making allegations. So
Yeah, and so you would
Like-
be the defendant, right? That's your side. You don't not have a side.
sure, but I don't have a narrative to defend. It's like I don't have something to defend. It's like he has to create the offense. So if he can't create the offense for me to defend against, I don't have a side.
Yeah,
Because
his
he's not able to
offense
create
is,
his side
according to you at
for me to
least,
counteract.
is baseless accusations. And so you guys go to court, and
Yeah.
that's your side, the defendant.
No, you fucked up the grand jury.
Yeah.
No, it's more of a grand jury issue. Are you
Sure.
familiar with how court works with grand jury?
Okay, yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like,
Yeah.
okay, that was just a little confusing, but I think you get what I'm saying is like, that you have a position, maybe that's a better word. You have a position.
That's given him too much credit. He has not established that there is enough justification to even warrant me having a side.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I understand he might be making up some crazy shit, and I will ask him about it. But I'm gonna be honest, until I get all the information and you guys talk it out, which is gonna be like, you know, how a court of law would do it, and I'm a much worse court of law, which I would highly recommend that you go, you know, and I know you don't want me to tell you to do that, but, you know, if you can, just have him.
You gonna pay for it?
I mean, I'm not gonna pay for it, but I'm saying that, it is something that would bring a better resolution. You know what I'm saying? And you
No,
you know,
it wouldn't.
you're
It would
pretty
just
smart.
make him bitter.
Well, sure, but you might be able to, what's it called? Like, represent yourself in court. Like, do you think that you could? Because I think you probably could, right? It would just take a lot of work and effort, which you might not be able
Yeah.
to do.
It would take a lot of money, and he's got more like generational wealth than I do. So it's an issue of like money.
Okay, sure.
So
But how much money would it cost if you went to defend yourself in court? I'm not very like savvy. I don't really know.
me either, but I know that whenever I would have like child support issues, that cost me like 20,000.
Yeah. Okay, so then it's
And
not
it's
worth
like
it.
it was
to go to court.
20,000 to just pretty much beat. Yeah, it's just not worth it. So like I don't understand. Like how
Okay.
does that help me? How does that benefit me? Like that only damages my mental health. So I guess like in an ideal world it'd be cool if that's how reality works, but it's not. Like you can't rely on the government to fix everything. You don't need to go to court for everything. You don't need to litigate everything. That's not how mature, rational, responsible adults need to handle everything.
I'm
It's like,
saying
I
for
would
him
only
to
do that if I
not
felt like-
be slandering, which is, you know, you can try and get him to not slander, but, you know, like with me and my stuff, I also have the same things. Is like it costs a lot to go to court, and not only that, but you know, I'd be doxing myself and stuff like that. So
So then why would I want to do that?
yeah, I'm saying for a resolution cause, one-dimensionally. But yeah, I get what you're saying. So what I'm trying to say is that like I could host a sort of like thing like that where I'm trying to push him for evidence.
Okay.
And if he wants to, then he can, you know? But I think the biggest, like, criticism for that is, like, obviously my stream is not a court of law or anything like that. But yeah, I think it'd be getting closer. Like, is Dilly the only one that is doing this? Obviously not. Like, maybe we could get, you know, everybody that is really slandering you.
Dilly, Amy,
Yeah.
Splinzo.
Yeah, let's get them on the stream. And let's go through the evidence, make a timeline, and see what we can actually prove.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. We can do that. And
Well, it works for me.
yeah, and as far as like yeah, I don't know what else we disagree on. As far as the echo chamber stuff, he said 100% on the systems or whatever, and then there's like and then on the other side of yours, it's very echo chamberish, and I can agree with that since the only people that actually know the information is those 5 or 6 people, so
No, they don't know the information. They're just spreading misinformation. Like
okay, so they
There's
don't know the
no
information, but they're the ones
compartmentalization
that
of information in that
talk
regard.
about it a lot, right?
Right.
They're the ones spreading the misinformation.
Right, it's just vibes. Yeah, it's just Dilly's mad about me not giving him sex ASMRs, and he's just trying to gaslight and manipulate out of pettiness.
Alright, fair enough. So, Labazoom, I mean, I guess we're good to go. And that's what I love about this, like,
Really?
we're pretty much clear on everything. So, do you have anything else to add or that you would want to tell me?
No, I'm good. I mean, do you feel like I have conducted myself with respect in this regard?
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking with, hey, you know, most of the people that come on here, there's plenty of people that just yell at me, and I've gone to other streams where they're just calling me racist and stuff. Like, this is far from that. You're welcome on to talk about whatever. So, you're fine. The only thing I was
I
like,
appreciate that.
yeah, I mean, at first I would be honest, the only thing I knew about you is you believed in black magic with Shinoa. And I was like, okay, let's see what this is.
Not really.
Yeah, so that was my first impression. So now I know you obviously a lot more.
I would've.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the reality of all of that is, if you go through like Buddhism and Hinduism, there's these concepts for discussing consciousness that just don't exist in English, and a lot of the quote-unquote black magic stuff is just Sanskrit words being symbolically reinterpreted in English context, and then like a Christian society condemning that as black magic, but it's not actually any belief in anything other than just impermanence, I guess. It's not. I don't believe in anything that is not verifiable to me. So
Okay.
I don't share Shinoa's beliefs at all.
Okay. I mean, I was lumping you into the wrong category, basically. Because I was like, okay, I don't know anything about Guilty. I am not even largely a part of the FGC until very, very recently, compared to the majority of the people that, you know, talk to me on the stream and stuff. They know all of the drama and stuff like that, so yeah, I definitely,
Okay, so like
yeah.
you know Yomi, right? In fighting games, Yomi?
Yeah, like layers and stuff like that.
Yeah, like reading the opponent. Like I'm able to sit there and be, okay, there's like a level 1 response, and then they retaliate, and it's like, oh, I know, and then they know, and then I know they know. And there's like 3 levels of it, like rock, paper, scissors. And then whenever you're able to look at somebody's patterns and you're able to understand their patterns, and then you're able to produce an action that interrupts their pattern, that's Yomi.
Yeah.
Now, you could call that telepathy, you could call that psychic, and people used to call like Daigo doing a Yomi Dragon Punch is called a psychic DP. Just because they just throw it out seemingly, but like it would work. So is that black magic?
I mean, that's like trying to ride on semantics, I think. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It's like, you know, somebody could be psychic if they predict the future, but we all try to predict the future every day. That's like what our brain is made for, right? So we're doing black magic all the time by that definition.
And what I said,
yeah.
And what I said is that if you go in like, you know, Buddhism and Hinduism and stuff like that, there's these Sanskrit terms that explain these ideas. Like Shunyata is kind of the basis of Yomi, and it's reading, and it's like dependent origination. Like there's these Sanskrit terms related to like yoga, meditation, Buddhism, Zen, yada yada yada, and then those just get lumped in through semantics. It is 100% semantics issue, and then labeled black magic. But in reality, we can look at it and say Yomi's Yomi, but there's a reason why we call it Yomi and not mind reading. But in reality, you're still making a read. But then if you talk to the average scrub and you ask the average scrub, oh yeah, like you tell the average scrub, oh yeah, I'm reading you right there. Like I know you just keep doing the same thing, so I'm reading you. Like, no, you can't do that. Like there's no, you're not psychic, you're not this or that. That's all it is. It's just semantics. It's all labels. It's all words. It always was that. It always was just semantics. It always was just.
Yeah, but like if you know that, like if you're saying you're psychic and you can do black magic, I mean, like, part of, language
That's
and
what Shinoa
communicating
said.
is happening, well, well, I don't know what, but, at least my point with language is you're supposed to communicate as clearly as possible using, like, the same words or, like, the same language. Like, if you were to say hi and I were to respond in Arabic or some shit like that, like, it wouldn't be effective, right? So you saying that, something is black magic, to somebody else, like, or that you're psychic, or that you have telepathic powers and stuff like that, like, don't you think that's a little bit, like, you know what the definitions are, but you're choosing to stretch them, right?
Yeah, when Shinoa was doing that, I absolutely agree. But you're describing Shinoa's behavior and attributing it to me.
Okay, fair enough, yeah. But whenever I got you and Shinoa on there, I was asking both of you, I guess, what black magic is. And, like, you could have actually said, I don't believe in black magic in the sense that you guys are thinking of. You could have defined it then. And so my question to that is, like, why not define it? Why leave it mysterious, right?
I don't think you're remembering it correctly, because if you do recall, I defined it, and I didn't go into whether I believed in whatever or not, because it's like, if you want to ask me, do I believe in Yomi? It's like, sure, I guess. And if, like, Shinoa wants to sit there and be like, oh, it's black magic, actually, it's voodoo, it's all this. It's like, okay, we're just describing the same thing with different labels, and that's really all that's happening. And it's Shinoa's the one who wrote like a 400-page document about how I do occult practices and voodoo and black magic and all this shit. Those are her allegations. Those are her claims. And it's like, if you when you asked me on stream, like, I gave you a definition of like what we can agree this actually
Okay, sure. I could
demonstrably
be wrong.
means. These
Like,
are just
with what you did, because maybe I might misremember. So I'll start a new thing, Like, maybe I misremember and you had defined it or whatever, but I was one of those people who was confused whether you believed in, like, actual black magic or not. And so what I would say is, like, have you told people with the definition of black magic being, like, literal, like, magic, where it's like you can actually cast spells and do voodoo and stuff like that. Like, I think a lot of people would relate to that sort of definition. So have you told people that you can do black magic knowing that they believe that's the definition?
When Shinoa would sit there and be like, did you do this voodoo, blah blah blah, and she'd have like this wall of text, I'd be like, yeah, sure, just to see what she'd say, just to fuck with her, just Shinoa. But it's like,
Yeah.
that's Shinoa. It's like, that's me just kind of, that's not the same as me saying, yes, I do black magic and I this and that, yada yada yada. Those are two separate things. It's like, in a serious context, no, I've never said that in a serious context. If I've had people schizo out on me and make a whole bunch of like goofy allegations, I've LARPed along with it, yeah.
Okay, so
But I've
you're
never at
saying
any
you're just
point,
acting
like,
in those situations.
tried to convince somebody.
Yeah, because I mean, if
I
somebody,
would say
yeah, go ahead.
I'm acting in a way where if you saw the screenshots, it would be really clear it's a joke on my end. Like, if you actually go through and look at the screenshots, it's very clear I'm joking, and like Shinoa is, legitimately asking me, oh, did you like send blowflies to my bathroom? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
To that place, so
But then if you actually look at it, it'd be like, she's gonna send me like giant walls of text, and then like, it's gonna be literally like a fucking 500-page essay, and I'm just like, yeah, sure, 2 words, and then she goes on another 500-page essay, and like, I've got her muted the entire time. And then I'll just like check back into the window, see like what crazy stuff she's saying, and then just kind of respond with like a one-liner, move on with the rest of my day, understanding she's gonna sit there and talk to herself a whole bunch of crazy shit, and that's all it was.
yeah.
It's a very rational, reasonable explanation.
Okay, so yeah. So you don't believe in black magic, you're just kind of fucking with people, joking around. Okay, I can, that confused me, but sure. I mean, that's great, because I think black magic is fucking dumb. So, sorry if you guys believe in black magic, but Okay, so or like, now I don't know if we can switch the conversation to more of a more personal thing. I don't know, or just like talking
Sure.
with you and getting to know you. One of the things is like Dilly was saying, why don't you stream anymore, or that you don't stream? But my question is why not? I mean, you seem to be pretty entertaining and stuff like that. Like why did you decide to stop streaming?
I wanted to pivot my direction away from video games in general. So for the past year, I've really been cramming studying. So I did like kind of a deep dive on history, because like what I would do with the streams last year when I started streaming a little bit, was I would kind of have like a bit of like a philosophy stream to discuss like ethics and allegations and stuff like that, and really kind of break down different things and kind of talk to people and like, kind of like their issues, like with Samusco. That's more or less what I would do. And I realized that I enjoyed that much more than I enjoyed playing video games.
Me too.
So I just realized that what I wanted to do was, instead of sitting there and streaming video games, I wanted to go back to researching like history, culture, and like on my desk here I've got like Mozi, this fucking like Chinese philosopher, and I've gone through in the past couple months the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, rewrite Plato's Republic, Lao Tzu, Confucius, Mengzi, Zhuangzi. Like I'm reading a whole bunch of different things to inform myself to have a better, more educated like broadcast presence, so I'm able to articulate something that I feel like has more appeal than video games and is more like pertinent. And I'm trying to figure out how to synthesize those two things, where I can kind of integrate the self-development aspect of getting better at a fighting game with kind of these other approaches of like with Samusco, like learning Japanese, learning other languages, and then kind of also going into the deeper meaning of with the origins of Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism. Like I've got a Quran here. I want to go through like Kabbalah and Hermeticism and
Okay.
trace Chinese, Japanese, and try to find like
So you're more about like having a discussion
ways
with
that
the chat rather than playing a video game. Video game. That's more satisfying for you.
Yes, so I just felt like I needed to educate myself more. So I just have been pretty dedicated to this, actually.
That's awesome.
Going through philosophy,
Why?
political science, history.
Yeah. Why do you feel that you need to educate yourself more and more?
Well, because my personal experience previously was I got pretty far with no education, no real training. But then I also realized once you get started, it's really hard to then also take time to study Japanese, for example. Like I pretty much had to decide where my mental energy went. It's like, am I going to study Japanese, or am I going to practice Street Fighter and Dhalsim so I could travel to this tournament, to travel to that tournament, to travel to this tournament.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be really exhausted, and I'm not going to have time. I'm not going to have anything like this. And then it's like, oh shit, like I'm on TV, I'm meeting people, I'm doing stuff, I'm really out of my element here. And through that process, I learned a lot of what I needed to learn in order to fill the shoes that I felt I needed to fill to really be able to embody myself the way I wanted to be in those moments. So, I can't say with any sort of certainty whether I will be able to match my previous levels of success, but on the possibility that I want to be in a better position than before to actually be able to discuss my views, my philosophies, my opinions without other people speaking over me, taking my words out of context and this or that, and just I felt like I was out of my breath. I felt like I was undereducated compared to other people who just were more educated, and it wasn't that I couldn't articulate myself, but it was that, you know, like Dilly, for example, it's kind of indicative of the same thing, where it's like, oh, well, you're just a rapist because this or that. Like, I can prove it because I don't need to prove it because, you know, you're just inferior. You're like lower status, and I'm higher status, so I don't have to justify myself. But, you know, any justification that you make, you know, like Samusco before, it's like, well, I'm a narcissist. Well, how do you know I'm a narcissist? Well, because that's how I feel. Okay, why do you feel that way? Because that's, you know, what other people did to me. Okay, so because of other people, that's why I'm a narcissist. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's just how I feel, you know, but like narcissist makes you like a lower status. So, well, then why am I showing you empathy? Well, you're not actually showing me empathy. Actually, you're a manipulator, so you're just manipulating me through showing me empathy in order to get one over me to teach me Japanese, I guess. You know, like, it doesn't actually make sense. When you unpack it, it doesn't actually make sense. But, you know, I need a lot of experience with people's epistemology as well. So, you know, it's the study of logic, the study of, you know, this and that. And I realize, being controversial, when I'm out there, people will attack me. And they will attack me with less knowledge about ethics, morality, philosophy. And I want to be prepared for that. I want to be able to have these discussions and be able to talk people. Like, no, I don't want to defeat them and conquer them. Yeah. I want to talk them out of their hostility towards me.
Interesting.
That's my goal. Is to, yeah, it's not to conquer, it's not to win, it's not to this or that, where I'm better than everybody else and everybody looks at me and says and all this. That's not what I want. I just want people to stop going out of their way to attack me and be hostile when I'm not doing anything to provoke it. Like, I'm not attacking them. I'm just showing them kindness. I'm showing them empathy. I'm showing them compassion. But then they're able to flip that around and be like, oh, actually, you're not showing me, you're not helping me. You're trying to manipulate me to, you know, for some vague reason that I can't actually articulate. But, like, I'm definitely sure that's how it is. And we just saw that. And you also saw how I handled it. And I feel like the fact that I'm able to handle it as well as I am is because I took that time off to really start to study, research, and just improve myself. Because I feel like through me improving myself, other people around me will at first misunderstand. They will approach me in a way where they sell me short, they judge me, they discriminate, they're prejudicial. But then I think, as you say, you know, the truth does carry through. But then I also felt like I needed to study that process. How does the truth come through? How does this work? How does this happen?
Yeah.
It's like with Arturo. It's like, you know, I do believe that a lot of these people who are alt-right or whatever, if I actually look at it, I think that they have a lot more in common with liberals than they do with the right. And through deconstructing that and treating them like humans, I felt like I was able to gain a greater insight, and through that insight, I was able to reach Arturo in a way other people were not able to reach Arturo, and through being able to reach Arturo, I was able to convince him to, like, repay his debts, and also to invest locally in Jewish communities in a way where he will always know in his heart he did the right thing in that moment, even if everybody else is telling him he's wrong and all that. I wanted to give him that almost as like a gift, where like you have this shield. Like, there's got to be people that are gonna come after you, and this person that you like donate to, he's going to be grateful to you. So I'm creating a connection. And if he wants to be conservative, then this, you know, conservative Jewish rabbi, he's going to be the one who's going to be able to sit there and be like, all right, well, if you want to talk about marriage, you want to talk about conservative values, we're going to talk about this and that. You did something for me, now I'm going to give back to you. I'm creating that for Arturo. When Arturo comes off of it and he snaps out of whatever he's done, he's got to realize I created the pathway for him to have some sort of a human compassion, like humanity compassion, for the people that he wronged, you know, the groups of people that he slandered. And, you know, that's me thinking of everybody's best interest. But
what
you know,
is
many
Arturo
people,
up
and
to
unfortunately
now?
Dilly,
Actually, I don't know You don't talk to Arturo or not? Yeah, I don't think that you guys get along, right? It's pretty positive.
Well, I don't have an issue with him, but the last I checked, he's sitting there saying, you know, I am writing off pursuing, you know, this weird fetishization of like Japanese women. I'm writing off, you know, video games. I'm working on myself. I'm, you know, rejecting these extreme politics, and yeah, it doesn't seem like it doesn't invalidate other things that he's done that is wrong, but it definitely seems like he's moving in the right direction. And you know, hopefully there is a day where he's able to come to me and we're able to reconcile. And I don't have a personal issue with him. You know, I would invite having a discussion that, you know, talks about how, like, why I did what I did. But again, you have to remember that it's kind of, Dilly has like a cynicism about it, where he's like, oh no, you can't do that. So then he just went out of his way to like prove me wrong by
Yeah.
instigating. And you know, the thing is, yeah, if you really instigate somebody smoking crack and on mushrooms, you can, I guess, you know, convince them that I do black magic and I fucked his wife and all this other stuff. And if that makes Dilly feel better temporarily, that's okay, because there's going to come a day where we're going to discuss it. And whenever we discuss it, what he did is going to come to light. And if he tries to defend himself, then that gives me the opportunity to explain my side of the story. And, you know, that is what misled Samusco in the first place. So the fact that
How,
Dilly misled Samusco...
Sorry, I'm kind of curious
Yeah.
about this. I'm like, how interested or invested are you as far as like getting people to understand your, you know, controversy and stuff like that? Like, because if you don't stream and stuff like that, I kind of feel like some people might say that it's okay, just like, you know, get off the internet and stuff like that, like do something else. What would you say to that?
Well, they have a right to say that, just as I have a right to disregard what they say.
Yeah, exactly, but why did you decide
So-
to...
They've exercised
You
their
know.
right to speak.
Yeah, why do you want to... Like, for me too, I made the same decision. I want to keep streaming. I want to, you know, not be canceled and stuff, so I stream, or I still do content creation. But, you know, you're not really doing that, so I'm just wondering what your reasoning is.
So, like I said before, is it's like I realized that if I get started, I can build momentum. I can build a lot of momentum. But whenever I start building momentum, I have to spend my energy to feeding that momentum. And as a result, I need to make sure kind of all my eggs are in check, you know, eggs are in the basket. Everything's
Yeah.
in check so I can succeed, where I'm not going to hit like a certain horizon where I'm kind of running on fumes. And I feel like before, you know, I was able to discover I can come from Missouri despite being uneducated, despite, you know, all these things against me. And I can go to Japan, I can travel the world, I can do all these things. And like this opened my mind. So then I also learned a lot of information through these experiences that I then came back home and I felt like, oh, I'm traumatized from all the things that happened to me. I need to heal myself. I need to actually get myself in order. And that is the point where I need to try again. I need to put doing things correctly above doing things the way everybody else thinks I should do it. Because, you know, I would have all these people who would say these things, and for a while it did work. It's like, you know, okay, yeah, these people are saying, you know, I drugged girls, but I never drugged girls. There's nobody saying I drugged them. So, you know, what is there to worry about? And everyone's like, oh, you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to worry about it. But then that builds up and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And then enough new people come in and they're not able to differentiate what's gossip and what's like real. And since I'm not pushing that narrative, because I just don't have that insecurity, it doesn't occur to me like, oh yeah, people are gonna randomly think that I, you know, drug girls, and they're gonna believe it, and
Yeah, me
then they're gonna
too.
have a little echo chamber.
I
and
was like, yeah, like
yes,
I was like, how are people gonna think I'm racist? It's obvious, but then they surprise you.
Yeah, so that just taught me that I needed to go back to the drawing board and I need to really reevaluate. And you know, I feel like I'm also in a position to where I can offer people like yourself advice, just experience, so you don't make my mistakes. It's not that I'm so qualified because I'm so successful, but it's like, you know, my qualifications are, hey, I got caught off guard by this, and since I got
Yeah.
caught off guard by this is at least one example of something that could happen. And I am qualified to say, hey, the stuff that happened to me could happen to anybody. You're someone it could happen to. And, you know, I would like to give you the support that I didn't have. Of having somebody actually sitting down and not be like, hey, you should do this, you should do this. Because you think about these people like Dilly and whoever, they want me to stream because then they want me to create content. They want to consume me as content. They don't actually care about me as a human being. They don't care if they're suggesting me to do, like, their suggestions are only going to lead to like a self-destructive pattern. They don't care. But they've also never gone down this path, so they don't understand. They're just trying to tell me what they want as consumers. And what they want is to consume me as a product. And that's not humanizing. And I've gone through that. And I've realized if I'm going to do this again, I need to be in a position to where I am strong enough to be able to manage all versus one.
Yeah. We need to be able to
And I do
manage
believe
all
that I
versus
can do
one. Okay. Looks like chat is
I do believe that I can
liking the
manage it.
talk. Okay, but don't. Yeah. Guilty lore is interesting. I like this guy. He talks a fair bit of sense. Yeah, I think so too. I think people judge Guilty pretty early on. I know I did. I'm guilty of that. Well, not... So I wasn't guilty of thinking that Guilty was, like, dumb or anything like that. Because I just thought that Guilty, like... the whole black magic was a big data point for me. Which was like, oh, but, like, I don't think that that's who Guilty is at all, but... But yeah, so...
I mean, I researched it.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm saying is, like, in the sense of... You know, casting dark magic and stuff like that. Which is what I thought you and Shino were. I was basically thinking you were Shino were too. You know? And that's far from the truth.
No, so like whenever I'm learning Japanese, I realize that there's a lot of concepts in here that I need to create like an analog in my brain. And my brain does understand, like all of us, you know, English speaking, Western, whatever, like we can conceptualize, oh, witchcraft, black magic, and blah, blah, blah. And then I realized that there's actually just a grammatical and cultural reason for me to go back and explore and kind of research some of this like black magic stuff. But I'm not doing this because I believe in black magic. I'm doing this because I believe on some archetypal level, you know, like Jungian archetypes and stuff like that. I'm able to kind of understand a universal human condition by deconstructing certain concepts and then translating that into Japanese. And then that just helps me also manage myself in that language, in that culture, blah, 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 blah. And that's really what it is to me, is it's a research point for me to go through in order to better understand other cultures. As I described, like, you know, Yomi.
So you're like prepping
But then this is also
basically
relevant
to
to
stream
high context.
and
yeah.
get back into content.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
but I'm
you're
trying
gonna...
to do it at a higher level
yeah.
than I did before.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, that's it. It's just I'm trying to do it at a higher level than I did before. Is I feel like, you know, if I'm able to articulate, I'm able to be well read, I'm able to discuss things at a higher level of depth, and, you know, use different language with like different people with different beliefs. You know, that's what I'm looking to do.
When
You know, if I
was
do
the
have
last
somebody that
time
comes in and is like, oh,
that
like I
you
do.
did like a serious stream?
Week and a half ago, maybe?
Okay. And what was the stream about? Like this sort of like philosophical talk,
I
or?
just play Street Fighter.
Oh, okay.
No, I just play Street Fighter.
All right. I'm just curious.
Because unfortunately, the truth is, like, if I sit there and I play Street Fighter, you know, people will watch me play Dhalsim, but if I play like a new character, people don't give a fuck about that. But yeah, there's a certain group of people where I can still pull, you know, maybe at the top end 80, but you know, maybe 50 on like a high average.
Okay.
And then sometimes it's just 20, sometimes it's just 30, but yeah, it's all just, it's double digits. Whereas like previously I would be able to just sit there and play like Dhalsim in Street Fighter, no cam, no mic, and I get like 200 views.
I get that, Rabizo. And then you got cancelled and then everything changed.
Well, yeah, I also made a decision to pull back because, you know, I felt like I was damaged by the community. I felt like I was kind of a product of my environment, and I felt like the environment harmed me, and I, in turn, contributed to the environment in ways I didn't really want to find myself turning into. So I pulled myself away from that, and really I made the decision to kind of pivot more towards, I think, an international perspective. Because, you know, I think there's another caveat to all of this is, you know, as we see with like Evo Japan having so much, you know, larger of a participation pool than Evo America, there is something deeply international about this. And if we limit ourselves only to kind of an American point of view, then, you know, that's where that in of itself is like an echo chamber. Because it's like if you go to like Japan, you go to China, it's like, you know, the controversy that you had is, you know, Cantonese. It's like there's a word. It's like, you know, it just kind of means like there or that, and it's the same. So it's like, if you expand outside of American borders, people aren't gonna judge you for what you said.
Dicey, interesting.
No.
Is that what I should do, do you think?
So then, like, yeah, 100%. Because it's like, you think about like, who's winning? Arslan Ash is winning. So it's like, you don't need to appeal to the West. You don't need to appeal to like white liberals who are upset that you said something. Because white liberals are only white liberals. They no one fucking cares outside of California. Like, and then everybody else resents the fact that California has a cultural hegemony. And then whenever you think about like the California thing, it's not just white liberals, it's upper middle class, college educated white liberals. So then you have a whole bunch of other people who feel disenfranchised, who don't feel represented by that group, who otherwise are leftist, liberal, but they're poor, and that makes them undesirable. I'm one of those people. Like, I personally experience it. It's like, you know, I'm transgender, so maybe that's supposed to be like, oh, you're progressive in like this way, but then I'm also kind of southerny, I'm a little folksy, I'm kind of not really like, you know, I'm not the perfect brand safe kind of person. And at the same time, worse than that, if I make a mistake, I'm gonna own up to it. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh no, like I promise I've never made these mistakes, or, you know, if I have made these mistakes, I'll never make them again. You know, and that makes me look like a liability to brands. And since it's all dictated by corporate interests, you know, you just gotta play the game as it is. And unfortunately, like the average viewer that's gonna get upset about this or that, I don't mean the average viewer overall, I mean the average viewer who will get upset about these things, is really such a like small microcosm that the more people that you have that are diverse voices from, you know, other countries, Brazil, like Pakistan, Middle East, like even in Europe, I would say, you know, Asia, these people aren't going to have the same like veneration and respect for the white left. So approach it that way. Because, you know, that's the thing with like using like soft A inward, and I think this is what Ceroblast didn't understand, is Ceroblast proceeds to like blame and like double down and be like, oh, it's distinctively the fault of the black community for blah blah blah. When in reality, I think the answer should have been, no, you are correct when you say you're from New York, so you have a more integrated environment, which is different than the Cali perspective, because in California, There's only like a 5% black population. So the representation isn't there. And when the representation isn't there, then you have a whole bunch of white liberals saying, oh, well, if you have integration with like this culture, then actually you're appropriating, you're actually this or that. And that's really what dominates the discussion. And I feel like it's reductive on both sides because, you know, you've got one point and you got another point, and there's all the space in between those points where it's like, okay, so if I'm from like a mixed ethnicity area and I kind of incorporate parts of the culture that I am, you know, in close proximity with, and I have solidarity with and I identify with. And I'm not necessarily saying, I don't know if you identify with black people, but in this sense I do think that Ciro was trying to make that case. But instead of trying to identify with black people, Ciro put it on black people and blamed black people. And it's like, oh, it's your fault that I said the N-word, it's your fault that we said the N-word. And then as a result, you know, I remember whenever you and Ciro was here discussing it, Ciro said, oh, well, that doesn't show accountability and blah, blah, blah. And to me, that just read white left, white left, white left. Like, you aren't actually learning anything. You're just trying to comply to white left. And at the same time, I can tell you, there is this other girl who, you know, did not get canceled, but she was saying the hard R. And,
Really?
you know,
Who was
she's
it?
Chinese, but she does OnlyFans. Should be Cynthia.
Okay.
Should be Cynthia. Yeah, and like, actually when she was saying all this stuff, it's like, you know, kind of the SGW people were like, oh, well, like, you know, it's important not to accountability is important, but, you know, please don't dogpile because you never know what somebody will do, yada, yada, yada. So there's this outsized concern for this girl's mental health. Whenever I saw Ciro Blast clearly on, like, Suicide Watch, and people are like, you know what, Ciro Blast is racist, fuck him. Like, it's a complete different mindset whenever you have some sort of, like, sexual minority, for example. There's a layer of discrimination that's not present otherwise. And I don't think Ciro really picked up on that. But, you know, I think whenever you have cultural integration and you do melt in the pot, so to speak, you wind up with fusion. And whenever you wind up with fusion, you have people using in-group language with other people they identify with. And that's kind of a sign of progress, really. And to, you know, stratify society in a way where you're gatekeeping people from integrating because people who don't have black representation are dictating for everybody else, kind of globally, like how those cultures should integrate. You know, it doesn't work for me because I feel like the moment that I say y'all, a lot of people look at me different. And, you know, I'm white, and if people look at me as a white person saying y'all different, then people are gonna look at black people saying y'all different.
Well, Bazoo,
Like,
yeah.
but it's also where I'm from. And like all these issues are not actually examined by the white left because they're interested in an echo chamber that preserves their perspective, which is to say, in reality, they're kind of conservative at the end of the day. They're trying to uphold their hegemony. They're trying to uphold their, like, social rules and enforce it on everybody else globally in this gaming community. And I don't think that it works without creating a lot of resentment towards that group. So I think if you look at it that way, then that kind of shifts how you can, like, your options with approaching it. Because I think you could be more critical of the system while preserving your free speech mindset without necessarily needing to, you know, dip your toes into indulging false accusations. Because I think there's just a stronger position there.
Labazoo. Yeah, that is quite a bit. I wonder, damn, maybe you should do like political sort of streams or something. I don't know. I was thinking about that, but I don't know anything about politics, to be honest. But I'd love to learn.
That's why I've been researching.
Yeah.
Well, you know the bit that I sent to you about game theory?
Yeah.
That's where it all starts.
Okay.
So
I'm pretty
part one is
familiar
game theory,
with
and the
those.
other thing to understand really well, the other thing to understand is religion. Because religion is, like, the function of religion is, to the average person, the average religious person, it creates like a demarcation line between like the things that you can control and the things that are out of your control. So, I think they anthropomorphize it into something more, of like a being, and there's these rituals, and there's this absolute higher truth. But I don't really think that's the right way to approach it. I think it's more like people need to understand certain things are within your control, and certain things are out of your control. And if you just want to call that randomness, if you want to call it, God's will or whatever, it doesn't matter. But for millennia, people have this, I guess, concept of, okay, certain things are outside of our control and certain things are inside of our control. And whenever you understand that, then you're able to understand like your constituency more, because you're able to understand how they have been programmed, because everybody's been programmed to some degree. And you want to be able to find commonality within that programming, and then understand the control that people are willing to let go of and the control that people are clinging to. And then you need to look at like where people are clinging to certain ideas. Like for example, I would say like, Samusco was clinging to the idea that I'm a narcissist, and this caused him pain. It caused him suffering. He didn't need to suffer when I'm sitting there and I'm just, shitposting whatever. He didn't need to suffer, but his attachment to that idea that I was categorically, ontologically a narcissist, which means, whenever I tried to help him with Japanese, I'm not actually trying to help him with Japanese, I'm trying to manipulate him, I'm trying to scheme for, reasons that, nobody even knows because I'm just too evil to understand. It's like that is in itself, that's a religious idea. And whenever people talk about psychology, they have a religious sort of attachment to it. Which is to say, they don't know what they can control and what they cannot control. They conflate the two. And they get confused. And then their attachment to things beyond their control makes them unhappy. And if you're able to articulate that to them, then you can talk them through it, as I did with Samusco. And through that, you're able to have a resolution.
What do you think my strengths and weaknesses are as a streamer, or as a human being, to be honest?
I think you keep yourself hard to know and understand. So anything that I would say would be presumptuous, I think. I think that it is... I think that you detach actions from actors. So, like, for example, Dilly's accusation, I'm a rapist, or people's accusations against you, you're a racist. And you would say, well, I'm not racist, but maybe I did a thing, I have an action, and that action is not fundamentally, like, the essence of who I am. Like, the essence of Sophie is not, Grand Dragon at the KKK. It's like, you're not running around, like, there's the people with the white robes. It's not saying, you're like a red robe, like, in the higher end.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not making that claim. But people will make that claim for you. And it's like, they're trying to assimilate actions and identity. So they're trying to create a simplified label. And, so I think you have a strength in that you are able to compartmentalize actions and separate them from identity, but I don't think you're all that
you can be brutal
with... There's no point in being brutal if it's just for the sake of brutality.
I'm just saying, you don't have to hold
there's nothing
back.
Instrumental about it. Why would I?
I mean, because a lot of people they always preface
It's okay if you're a masochist, that's okay, but keep your fetish to yourself.
Alright, you got me. No,
I
definitely am not necessarily. Well, I mean, who knows? Like, I don't fucking know. I don't think I'm a masochist, but I mean...
Hold on,
yeah, go ahead.
You can be brutal to me in public on my stream. Yeah, no, I'm okay with it. Yeah, okay, you fucking masochist. Keep that shit in your pants.
I'm saying... I'm saying that
I think...
I want your authentic opinion. That's what I'm saying.
I don't lie. So, I'm telling you.
Okay.
I don't think that you are the best whenever it comes to perceiving other people's emotions and feelings. I think that you tend to operate from your perception. So you
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
you're able to differentiate like actions from actors, but you know, like it's the point I made before where like I know I'm using like really like specific language, so it's kind of like weird to understand like what I understand or what I'm trying to say, but it's like you are aware that you can be descriptive and prescriptive, but then I think there's a tendency to apply that prescriptivism to other people. So I don't think you hold yourself to the same standard that you expect other people, that you expect from other people.
Okay.
Also, you come off as kind of young, a little bit. I don't know your
Maybe.
age, but if you're not young, I would imagine that you probably don't come from a poverty background.
Okay.
So my assumption would be you are probably, and this is an assumption, you are probably somebody who is college educated, who has maybe been sheltered a bit from parts of society where you legitimately were a little bit taken off guard by the reaction that you got from using the N-word.
Yeah.
That seems legitimate, whereas a lot of people would be like, oh, like I can't see how you can't this or that, and to me that's a class stratification issue, where to me I feel like you maybe having compartmentalized from engaging with black people in a way where you actually identify with them, and as a result you kind of imitated something without really understanding the ramifications, which to me tells me that you're sheltered in a way, or you know, you haven't you're not from the streets.
Who have I
That's
zoned?
what I would say.
Okay.
So that
Yeah, I will
That would
say,
imply
like,
that-
in real life, I've never had any sort of people. They just know that I'm just not like that, you know. So there's never been a problem as far as I've never even really like used that in my vocabulary. But
you're in a gaming community that is largely diverse, and you have a lot of people who are engaging with you, where you know it could be perceived a certain way. So like I have gone to Singapore quite a few times, and I like Singapore. And you know, sometimes my Singapore friends will pop up in the chat, and they really like it if I start doing like Singapore slang with them. So you know, like suck my dick la, like say that kind of stuff. So
who have
like
I
them,
zoned?
you know, my friends, they're like, oh, like you know, like you know,
Yeah.
you're doing the thing. But like I'm doing something informed. But like if you were like, you know, Kevin from Iowa and you've never fucking traveled to Singapore, you don't know anybody from Singapore, you don't understand like the fact that like I had to literally sit there with like a drinking buddy and like practice hitting right, you know, the right inflection point. And like that practice shows if I stream, and they're like, oh, you're making like a racist accent. It's like, no, Kevin from Iowa, shut the fuck up. Like, leave the country. Like, go do something. I don't care, but it's not about you. There's a bigger world out there. And in that context, like I'm sitting there and I'm actually using in-group language. I'm communicating with somebody, but then I also have to be aware of the fact that everybody's viewing it, everybody's observing it. So I have to explain to, you know, this kid that doesn't fucking have any fucking idea what the fuck he's talking about, that what I'm doing is more culturally, like, syncretic than he's giving me credit for. He's writing me off because of his own prejudices, his own experiences, his own this or that. And for all I know, you know, maybe Kevin from Iowa is, you know, Asian, but not in a way that connects to Singapore, and maybe he has been abused, and maybe that trauma is real and authentic, and I don't know that. But so at the same time, I have to be aware of the fact that as I'm talking to, you know, Kevin from Iowa about my, you know, Singapore in-jokes, that he's not the center of the world. His experience is not everything. Nor is my experience everything. Nor do I have the right to just sit there with impunity and judge his experience. He doesn't know my life, I don't know his life. And we have an opportunity in that moment to find some sort of like solidarity, find some commonality. But at the same time, you know, it's nothing's guaranteed, I think. So you have to take everything in shades of gray. And I think, you know, you want to veer towards shades of dark gray rather than light gray and be more cautious than sorry, because it takes less energy to seek permission than it does to seek forgiveness, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's
So-
a way to look at it for sure.
What?
And I could see that.
Going back to what I said before, you seem like you are either young or sheltered or privileged in a way where you don't have a lot of conflict experience, but where maybe you're kind of curious about it. And you're curious about different types of people. You're curious about integration. You're curious about the wider world than what you have currently been experienced to. And your way of exploring that wider world is by having a video game stream where the audience is quite diverse. And through that, you're able to meet different types of people and you're able to grow. And you're able to challenge your own beliefs. And then you're structuring this group in a way where, honestly, and I don't view this in a negative way. I view this actually as a positive thing. So don't take this the wrong way. But I think the purpose of it is to educate you. I think you are doing this, you know, with the free speech discord, with the controversy, you're doing all this to educate yourself by putting yourself through the trials. And, you know, if you have prejudices, if you have ignorance, you want to burn those impurities off, you know, hell or high water, however it may happen. That's my interpretation.
Wow, that's well, I won't verify any doxing information, but like I'll say a lot of the stuff that you said is probably fairly accurate, you know? So yeah.
That's Yomi.
Yeah.
That's Yomi. So whenever we're talking about believing in black magic, I definitely believe that I'm able to make accurate like reads off of you with no information and just observation.
Yeah.
And then if I talk to like an idiot, a fucking moron, it's easier for them to believe that I'm doing black magic on them than it is to believe that, you know, I just am able to perceive and read in between the lines of things that are not spoken. But that comes from trauma. It comes from struggle. You earn that. And by putting yourself in a position to be maligned with your past controversy, you are likewise putting yourself in the same process. You're putting yourself through the same gauntlet.
Wow, but I can't dodge the bonks, guys, right now. But yeah, pretty interesting. Like, I don't know which part I should go into, but I guess one of the things is that
You don't have to go in anything.
it's like a lot of people just don't believe that I couldn't not know the ramifications or impact of what I was doing, and I can like never prove that to people. So I let people kind of believe what they want, but it's kind of annoying. It's like, I don't know. I just thought the hard R was the
You
line.
have to understand those people have been through trauma.
Yeah.
People have been through trauma. So just as I said with like, you know, Kevin from Iowa, I don't know Kevin from Iowa. But maybe me, you know, 小啦, 波波, yeah, like that stuff. Like maybe that like obsessed people. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, 小啦, 七百. Like maybe they hear that and they're like, oh, like I'm offended by that. But then maybe they don't really know what I'm doing. Maybe they don't know what I'm saying. And it's in-group language. So you have to think in terms of in-group versus out-group. When you're publicly broadcasting, you are not broadcasting to your in-group. But soft A is going to be in-group language. So if you're with like your friends and you're drinking or whatever, and your friends like, oh, you know what, like we're all chill with this. Like you're one of us. Like, you know, you're like, you know, you're one of us anyway. That's gonna be one circumstance. It's gonna be one situation. you know, and then you'll also find people like Shinoa, where it's like if you call her hard R, that's like, you know, oh, this is my turn on. I want to be called slurs. So, you know, but then whenever you think about people like that, there's a psychology behind that as well, where they probably have been treated with like, you know, gaslighting, where they've always been kind of like treated with a degree of racial prejudice, but then everybody else had kind of the infrastructure sit there and be like, oh no, actually you're the one with the problem, you're the one imagining that you're being discriminated against, you're the one who this or that. So then to that end, there's some sort of catharsis with, you know, specifically Shinoa, where if somebody calls her like a really bad slur, it's like, oh okay, finally, at least in this moment, like I'm just hearing it outright. I don't have to guess, I don't have to do these mind games, I don't have to whatever. It's like it just kind of helps, I guess. I don't know, but that's like the best solution, the best explanation that I can come up with. And my point is, you're going to find a wide range of people who are going to want different things. And like, I'm going to bet a lot of people really upset about you are like white kids. And they're white kids who are really just, they probably said the N-word at some point. They got yelled at. Or maybe like there was like a redneck kid that, you know, was racist, and, you know, since racism is bad, they just don't want to be racist. So they're thinking about themselves as, you know, in their identity, not their actions. So maybe they sit there and, you know, like Dilly, for example. He'll sit there and be like, you know, I am not racist, I would never use the hard R, I would never this or that. But then if actually, you know, I got tons and tons of just fucked up stuff where he calls people, you know, spooks, Aunt Jemima, blah blah blah. Like he says other pejorative terms for like black people, but you know, he doesn't use the hard R, and since he doesn't use the hard R, he's not a racist, and he doesn't do racist things, and you know, it's because he said he doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make sense. That's gaslighting. That's a lack of self-awareness. So, you know, if you encounter somebody like Dilly a lot in your life, it might be kind of cathartic on some level for somebody to just outright say it. It's like, oh, okay, at least now I know how you feel.
Like there's a
But
bit
that
of
doesn't make it morally right,
transparency or
that doesn't make
something?
it good. Yeah, well, it's not trying to like lie to you. Like, it's not insulting your intelligence.
Round two.
You know, because if you're gonna be like, oh, like I do everything I do to support the black community, I love black people, this and that, but then you sit there and you call people, you know, not hard R, but still like pejorative terms, slurs. You know, people are gonna be like, ah, is this guy like serious? And then you talk to him and you find out, no, he's definitely serious, but he's just stupid. He's just uneducated. He's, you know, he is like in a worse position than you, where like, you know, he's a lawyer, he's got like some sort of like generational wealth, this and that, blah blah blah, and as a result, he doesn't have the depth to be aware of the fact that, okay, yeah, maybe you served as like a public prosecutor and you, or you know, public defender, and you got some people off of some stuff, but that doesn't mean that you're not being racist by actively discriminating against people in other ways.
Yeah.
Like maybe you're not using the, you know, hard R, but do you want a fucking prize or something? Like,
Wi-Fi zone. So, with controversial opinions, are you pretty open about those, like on your stream and stuff, or not really?
yeah, if people want to come up and call me slurs, I'll sit there and ask them like, well, why do you feel that way? And you know, it happens so often where it's like, you know, people sit there and call me slurs and this and that, and you know, it's like, oh, well, actually, the real story is, you know, his brother was gay and he loves his brother and he's just really worried for his brother, and you know, he's kind of, you know, 18, 19, whatever, and kind of coming out of the like manosphere, Andrew Tate kind of shit, and you know, he's just kind of caught between two ideas, and the fact that I was willing to sit there and let him call me slurs and like, well, okay, why do you feel that way? You know, how do you feel? I'm not saying everybody should do that, but I'm saying me personally, having gone through what I've gone through, I have the ability to do that, and you know, that makes these people walk away with less bigoted beliefs, while also at the same time, I'm connecting it to, you know, how they could reconnect with their family better, how they could mend bridges, and keeping it human, making it about their humanity. It's often something else that I hear is people have these like really violent, angry, homophobic perspectives, and I talk to them and I realize, oh, they got like molested when they were like 12 by like an
Yeah.
adult man. I was like, okay, I'm not saying
else
that
going
justifies
on.
anything, but I'm not justified in victim blaming this person for the fact that they have this trauma. I need to treat their trauma as a real thing that is unfortunate. And through that, I need to recognize that I have the presence of mind to control my behavior. I have the ability to control how I react. I have the ability to control how I perceive this person. Like, just because I feel something doesn't mean I have to act on how I feel. I can have that self-awareness. I can have that continence to look at myself and be like, okay, do I want this person to walk away from this engagement? Do I want to win this engagement so then this person's resentful and they go and take it out on somebody else? No. But if all I'm focused on is my moral righteousness and how I'm correct and I'm this and that,
Yeah.
then all I'm going to do is I'm going to create somebody who has been deeply impacted, and I'm just erasing it. And I mean, Arturo's publicly tweeted this shit, so I'm going to bring it up because he's publicly tweeted it. But that's what happened with Arturo. He's sitting there and he's talking about how, trans people and queer people and this and that and yada yada yada. I've supported the community and I've this and that, but it's the LGBT mafia and yada yada yada. You guys are all this and that. He's just like, this is a PTSD response. And again, he's publicly tweeted about this, so this is public information at this point. But that's the core root of his transphobia. And if you look at what he's saying, he's really backed off the anti-Semitism and the transphobia. It's not like he doesn't occasionally say some fucked up shit, but he's like, that used to be like the entire thing. And he's I thought about it in terms of, okay, I've got this guy who, he's a legend. People listen to him, and he's got a platform like 35K or whatever, and he's just retweeting Nick Fuentes. He's just talking hate speech. He's just regurgitating all this.
Yeah.
And all these other people are just condemning him. But condemning him just means that he gets louder. He just starts spewing out more hate, more hate, more hate. And then I'm thinking, okay, so what about the kids that are watching this, where this is feeding them what they want to hear? And whenever they see that, they go and they copy that behavior because this person is saying it's okay. I don't like that. Like, that's a difference between, like, whenever I was talking before, me saying that I could deprogram him is, Dilly's like, oh no, like, he's morally repugnant, he is this or that, and it's like, do you want hate to persist? Because it kind of sounds like that's what you're saying. It sounds like you're young, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and like, you're more interested in validating how you feel, your outrage or this or that, rather than examining the problem. And worse than that, when someone else who is also being targeted in a discriminatory way goes out of their way to try to mitigate that hate, your strategy is to instigate it to be worse, just to win a petty argument that doesn't prove anything.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I still did deprogram them. So all Dilly ever did is just inject a whole bunch of toxicity and freak Arturo out. And
we'll definitely get to a stream where, we look into all of that. So I hope that you and Dilly are prepared. That is, if Dilly accepts. I don't think he wants to talk to you at all. And maybe for a good reason, not necessarily saying because you're bad, but maybe because he knows that he doesn't have the evidence, maybe. And I'm not sure if that's true or not, because it could be that,
yeah, he's gonna get punked out.
Yeah, and it could be that he does have the evidence, but he doesn't want to show it. I mean, that's also a possibility, but I have no idea.
A little bitch. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you keep that possibility open. But until you see it, what is assumed without evidence, what is alleged without evidence can be dismissed without evidence.
Exactly.
So
Like
there's a
it
reason
is
to
innocent.
shut the fuck up and sit down
Yeah.
and know his place.
Exactly. It's innocent until proven guilty on my stream, at least. So, you know, you're
My point is to
Yeah.
talk about the ramifications of judging people rather than talking to people and educating people.
okay. And yeah, I mean, I'm about to end out the stream. I gotta say, guilty. Like, I had a lot of fun talking with you in particular, but you know, even you guys that were on the stream and on the voice chat, I'm sorry if I couldn't get to your messages and stuff. I was just really locked into this conversation, and you know, the voice chat, so it can be kind of tough. But yeah, I don't know if you had anything else to add, but yeah, I'm about to shut off the stream, guilty.
Pleasure's all mine. Pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak my case and your patience with, allowing me to speak. I understand that it was critical with the way that some of the people in your community, not necessarily you, but the way that some of the people in your community are attempting to use your system and rule set in order to create an echo chamber. I don't attribute that directly to you. I hope that you are able to continue to grow and find your own success. I appreciate everybody who, maybe has been listening. I hope that it has been informative. If you would like to discuss anything with me, feel free to reach out on various platforms. Hopefully we can all cooperatively move towards a better and more understanding sort of community. I think discourse is really integral to that. So, I want to give you some gratitude and appreciation for facilitating that. And I hope that we are able to reconvene in the future and discuss more issues at length and in depth.
Absolutely. So, yeah, if you guys like Guilty, it seems like a lot of my chat is resonating with you. Just give her a follow on her stream. You can shout out your socials or whatever. And, yeah, as far as what I see with Guilty, I know she's very controversial or whatever. I don't see a problem with her, with the way that she treats me, at least, So I don't know, But, she's welcome here. So...
I'm going to posit that a lot of my issue was not the way that I treated women, but the way that men felt towards me. And they basically just capitalized on an easy opportunity to try to malign me. And I think that, whenever we do see these people where they have these very heated, very reductive perceptions of me, where they have these very extreme allegations, but they're completely unfounded and they can't articulate them at all, that is the entire point.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the entire point. That is what discrimination looks like. That's what bigotry looks like.
I don't know if you know who X Pop-Tart is. I don't know if that's one of your people or not, but...
What up, Pop-Tart? Yeah, he's one of mine.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you say? I'm not looking at the chat.
He's like, let's all bow down and praise Guilty. I don't know, I'm not familiar with who Pop-Tart is, but welcome in, Pop-Tart. And, yeah, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and end out the stream.
He's a gooner.
You have a good one, okay?
You too, yeah? Busy.
Wow, Bazoom, thank you guys for being here. Pop-Tart, Nighttime, Not Valendian, Irradiation, by the way, Irradiation, I've been seeing you quite a bit in here. Like, I appreciate your participation. Thanks for, I need to talk with Irradiation. I see a lot of his, comments in there, and I was like, yeah, I agree with that. XYZ, stuff like that. So, welcome in. Really appreciate you being in here. Narble, it's good seeing you again. PMT, Red, welcome in. This is my first time seeing you, at least to my knowledge. Sorry if I forgot. Xaverus, good to see you again. Viso as well. Bomb the Nuke, welcome in. Frank Sherbert, thank you guys for stopping by, seriously. Sparta, if you guys, followed, thank you guys so much. No offense, I think I'm going to skip the follows for tonight. Zone, that's, you know, I'm a little exhausted. Nighttime, thanks for the $15 tip. Skiz Francis with a $100 tip, and on top of that, going for 50 gifted. So thank you so much to Skiz Francis. I know he's not here, but I gotta be singing his praises, because damn, that is crazy. $5 from Anonymous. Thank you very much. Thank you. Valendian with a tier 3 sub. You guys are great. Video Maker, thanks for the follow. Just mentioning that because, you know, Video Maker was quite a bit of this stream as well. And someone gifted Vol a sub off the stream. Interesting. Who's another VTuber. So thank you, Anonymous, for that. Wow, by Zoom, guys. What an interesting stream. And I'm glad that Epic Empire, you know, kind of made this stream topic and stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure, you know, how to, like, even after all of this, like, conversation on how to moderate things, I mean, what I kind of pulled from it is that, you know, you can't allow your place to be a place of slander, which could possibly create an echo chamber. So to diminish that, you have to challenge, like, you have to challenge people's, like, trying to think about how to word it, because it's not necessarily like opinions, right? It's more like accusations. Like, and I believe that I do, you know, push people in what I think is bullshit. I do that all the time. But, you know, even more so with the severity of the crime, with, like, as Guilty mentioned and stuff like that. It was also fun getting to know, you know, if I haven't met you guys, like some of the people on the stream, including Guilty as well, I haven't really talked at length one-on-one, so I thought that was really cool as well. But you guys have a good one. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I'll probably be, I don't know if I'll be cutting this one up into like a highlight. I'm doing that with the last stream though. But you guys are great. Spam something in the chat, or if you want me to say goodbye to you, and I'm gonna end out the stream. I mean, raid out the stream. Wow, Bazil. Thanks a lot, Deadeye. I want to end out with that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle song. Wow, Bazil. Then where's Malazan? Malazan's the one who requested this. And I love it. I've never even played the game, but it's so energetic, this song. Spam something in the chat. You guys are amazing. Let's go ahead and hit the next person with the best raid ever. Exactly, Deadeye. Video Maker, my problem was just a threat to my account in order to manipulate my actions. Yeah, I don't agree with that either, Video Maker. I do not agree with that either. Can I go side or raid? We could. Let me see. Let me see what I have available at my fingertips. I wish my stream didn't crash in the middle, because I was doing pretty good there. But I'm not gonna worry about that stuff anymore. I used to like cry when my streams would like crash, and I would like have 50% of my fucking people leave or whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, let me see what we got here. Like pushing Sophie to break the echo chamber. I don't know, like I feel like my Discord is an entirely different creature than my stream. Kinda crazy. Alright, let's see who I got on Tekken 8. Oh my god. If I did keep it, I would have been like second or first on Twitch. That many people streaming right now. Like even with 32, I'm like still top. What is it? 2, 4, 5, 6. I'm like 7th. Kind of crazy. All right, let's get that. Let me see. Mango cider. He's always been nice to me, so let's get him. And thanks for the what's it called? You made the traders leave, Betso. Thank you guys for stopping by.